to the Grey Man Podcast. This retired counter-terrorism agent, lifelong martial artist, and personal defense expert joins his best friend, producer Jim, to talk about personal defense and world events. This is The Grey Man, Mike Sion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Grey Man. Once again, I'm not even going to pretend to know what episode we're on.
we're moving on up, baby. It's
15, 14. Oh, my first guess was right. Holy
got
shit.
it. You know this. 15, the Ides of season 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at 2.
Good times. At 2, 15. Wait, no, that's not what he said. That's not what he said when he got stabbed.
No.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wasn't there, so.
That's, history books. You're all about the history books, so that must be true. Somebody wrote it down.
Yeah, it's obviously true.
Yeah, must be the truth. I actually read recently that et tu Brute can be translated into something that doesn't mean you too Brutus. It's more intimate than that.
Oh,
yeah. It's more like you son, and well, you nephew of mine, like that intimate relationship. But also the other side of that meaning is you bastard. Yeah. Like it's a combination of the intimacy and the betrayal in that one thing that was said.
I could see that.
If it was said, and who knows? I read it on the internet, so I'll give it about 3 notches down just because it was on the internet.
1.5 stars of truth out of 5.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we have to deal with. Well, welcome to the Grey Man Podcast. I'm excited to be here, man.
It's going to be a good, another good one. We got some good stuff lined up, I think.
We do, and before we get into it, of course, we have to talk about the Grey Man scale. It escalated last week because things have been happening. We've not fallen into absolute chaos in the last week, but things are still a little bit crazy. We've had we did escalate it last time, and I kind of want to recap this. Partially because of the shutdown of the pipeline. We weren't sure at the time of our last recording what was happening. It's come to light, likely from the people that actually did say they did it. It was hackers essentially just trying to get some money out of it, and that felt pretty stupid. And I actually apologized afterward, which that whole mindset, why is there an industry of people that are, it's okay, we just accept the fact that there's an industry of thievery when it comes to systems. Like how is it just happening? That doesn't make sense.
And the company paid the ransom. That's why the pipeline is back up. They couldn't do anything about it.
Which is asinine. Backups, people, back up your freaking systems.
Well, they put a job announcement out. I think it was 2 months prior to this incident for a cybersecurity manager.
Yep.
Well, at least they recognized it was a problem in their company. Yeah. They just didn't get to it fast enough.
So word of warning to anyone out there, and it could attack your home. It could attack your business, your organization, your church. I mean, any organization, just back up your critical files. And expect either you're going at some point, you will either have to pay or spend some time recovering. That's just the reality of it, even though it sucks and people suck. That's just how it is.
It's true.
Speaking of that,
there hasn't been anything really big happening. I mean, there's Israel and the Palestinians are rocketing each other, and that's in the news right now, but that always happens.
Thank you for saying that. I was curious.
It always goes on. And now really what happens is anytime there's something negative going on, this is my feeling. And it's based off of some experience and watching trends. Anytime there's something happening in the U.S. government that is negative towards the current administration, that is favored by a media source, there's another story to take attention away from that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I heard another quick side note. I'm going to keep doing this to you today, I guess. But I heard somebody say that, the CDC this last week looked at all of these people that were putting gas into cardboard containers and garbage bags and buckets and said, you know what? Fuck it. You don't need to wear masks anymore. It just doesn't matter. So
because
never mind.
People are stupid.
It's fine. We're done. We've had enough. So I think, that it's all coming together.
But if there's any single incident in the last year that should tell you you need to look at preparedness and have a plan. Look at the idiots putting gasoline in giant Tupperware bins
Yeah.
in the back of their vehicles and driving off.
To be clear, don't do that. That's just in case. Now, I don't expect that the listeners of the Gray Man podcast would do that, but maybe someone's desperate. But no,
that was crazy.
Eat it. That's what.
Multiple vehicle fires and injuries, and I think there's been some reported deaths because of accidents. I mean,
there should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to wish anyone to be dead, but that's a pretty bad
hoarding
thing.
once again, man.
Yeah.
This last go around when the pandemic hit and people were hoarding toilet paper and doing all kinds of stores are running out of certain types of foods and stuff. Michelle and I didn't panic. No issue.
One of the blessings of our timing and starting up the Gray Man podcast is we actually got to survive through the pandemic with our listeners, and we saw that progression. Every once in a while I go back and look at old notes and listen to old shows, and people, as the panic was happening with toilet paper, our conversation, not to pat ourselves on the back with poopy hands, but our conversation was toilet paper is not the issue. Keeping your hands clean after you use them to wipe is the issue.
Yes.
Get soap, people. So stuff is going to happen, and we may run out of comfort things. So we're out of gas. I mean, that would suck. I wouldn't like it, but it's not that. I mean, that would probably raise up the Gray Man scale a little bit, but it wouldn't take us to 10.
No, well, I mean, and you run out of gas and then it stops trucking stops, resupplies in stores. And there's a cascading effect that it would crank it up a bit, but definitely not to 10. I mean, it's not, the world's on fire, zombies on the outside of your house, apocalypse.
And it was, in my mind, it was running out of gas at the neighborhood gas station. But what you're talking about now, that is a significant concern. But that doesn't affect or get caused by people putting gas into the Tupperware. That's just people being stupid.
Well, it's fear. It's mass fear and lack of planning. And we always talk about planning. Piss poor planning on your part doesn't make it a priority on mine.
Amen. Excuse me.
Yeah, good push.
Speaking of which, I did not plan that gaseous emission very well.
So for me right now with what's going on overseas, the Russia and the Ukraine, still a very hot zone right now, very, very hot and precarious, especially for our NATO allies. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict that just keeps going on. It just pops up in the news every once in a while. There's still a massive border crisis, humanitarian and other, on our southern border, because it's not just people from Latin America that are coming into the U.S. We call them OTMs, other than Mexican.
Oh,
OTMs.
Of course, there's an acronym for it. Yes.
Yeah, it's the government, right? Yeah. There are OTMs that get caught coming across the border all the time because it's easy to pay for it. It's an easier way to get in. And these OTMs are not good people, by the way. We're talking people that are on watch lists and things like that.
Yeah.
So we still have all of this stuff, and now we have this fear-based hoarding. But we kind of knew, I think we talked about that a little bit. It might have been before the show, that some of this stuff is going to happen anyway, because people are stupid.
Right.
An individual can be smart. People are stupid.
Yes. Men in Black, one of my favorite scenes.
Yep, exactly, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I'm still going to keep it where we were at. We're like a 7-8.
Yeah, that's where we had been.
And nothing's really tipped the scale. We're just at a spot where you really, if the shortages on the East Coast and the way people acted about gasoline didn't spur you into thinking maybe I should either brush off a plan that I have or make one, then there's nothing that we can do for you at this point. I'm not even sure why you're listening to the Gray Man.
Right. And that's exactly like, how are you doing with drills these days? How's your exercise routine? And it has impacted my life. Our conversation last week, I have a computer that I'd loaned out to a friend, and just this morning he said, I don't really need it anymore. My first thought was, well, great, I need a backup. And I know that's computers, but that's my preparedness. Like I have, speaking of which, and I don't know that we've even had this conversation, I have devices that have critical information, not my codes to online banking, but critical information that could help me in farming if I needed to. Like that type of information. I have it on a thumb drive that is protected against the EMPs, that stays in a secure location that I can always get to, along with something that I can use to access it. Like you need to be able to have that. So keeping these things backed up, to me, that's one way to stay prepared. And that because it doesn't go from necessarily we're at a 7.8 to a 10 overnight, and it could go from a 7.8 to an 8.2 or a 9. And then, okay, well, we don't have power anymore, but we still have some type of an infrastructure. So there's a balance in there. It's not going to be all or nothing. There could be a balance, or there will be a shift in time as it does get up to 10. And during that time, what can I do locally? I have a generator. I have a way to keep my computer system running. Sure, I can't go on to Zoom and do a call with someone in another state, but I have access to information. The internet's down, but I still have access. So those things help with preparedness. So we're to 7.8. And I think it's important to make part of that, or to recognize as part of that, that the infrastructure didn't get better in the last week or so just because this incident happened. We still have all those issues, and our awareness of that and how weak we are, it's not just ours. Others know of that. And of course they knew of it before, but now we're weaker in the eyes of the world, that, hey, it's
our enemies.
That easy. Some couple of teenagers or whatever these guys were, these jackasses that don't have enough gumption to get a real job. They're spending all of their resources just stealing from others. Screw them, by the way, but that's what they do. If they can do it and not even have planned to do it, what can someone do that really wants to do that? And how long is it until it happens?
And there are countries out there, our adversaries, that have entire sections of their government devoted to that type of thing against the U.S.
Yeah.
And you would be a fool if you didn't understand that we do the same thing.
Yeah.
It is like we talked about last week, it is the future battlefield, or one of the future battlefields.
Yeah.
It's a very important one. And we do it. We're always doing it against each other. But now the world and our adversaries really know how vulnerable our critical infrastructure is. Petroleum, electricity, all.
And I'm laughing because the guys that did the shutdown, whatever their organization was called, they actually folded the organization. And as you're saying this, it occurs to me, they're probably on the market for a new job. And I wonder if there's any countries out there that'd pay to find out what they did to get in, right? Like something that's
plenty of them out there.
Yeah, or individuals. There's you don't have to be an official government to want to cause chaos and cause disruption.
100%.
So
7.8. I'm not going to move it.
Fair enough.
Well, we're kind of holding steady where it's high.
I mean, unstably steady.
Yes, we are unstably semi-stable.
Yes. Well, welcome to middle age.
Yeah, no kidding. Peek under the curtain for my brain.
I'm not looking in there. I've had a peek.
You want to?
No, sir. It's dangerous in my own. I don't want to get into somebody else's.
So there's the gray man skill. That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's the way I'm looking at the world these days.
Earlier this season, we did an episode called Home Alone, in which we talked about home defense. And it was a great exercise for me. I appreciate being part of it because it helped me see my home in a new light. Some things that I could set up, some defense, just even ways of thinking about what would happen if there were someone coming into my house. And it's more and more likely. I don't care where you live. I don't care what your environment is. It just seems like it's more and more common. It's everything from porch pirates to murders and robberies. It's happening. And going back to your earlier statement, you'd be a fool not to prepare somehow. So that's what we're here to talk about. We had actually mentioned during that episode that we were going to continue the conversation. And let's start off just a quick recap. I know we talked about home defense from kind of a layout of your home, from a general sense, maybe some guns and things that you might want to have in mind. So could you just give us maybe a quick recap, and then we'll continue on from there?
Sure. One of the things when you're looking at home defense is one, knowing the type of structure that you live in, how it's constructed, where you are in the city for response times, criminal activity, where the safest places in your home are for fallbacks. And then we started talking about weapon systems, which ones were more practical for home defense. The baseball bat and that stuff that I hear people talking about all the time.
Yeah,
Terrible idea.
Yeah, so someone on you do TikTok? I don't think you do. I do TikTok. So I do the flicking through and the watching of the funny videos. One guy who's all serious about self-defense and home defense, and he had a baseball bat with a sock on it. So why would you have a baseball bat with a sock on it? Because when you hit somebody, they're going to grab the bat. And if there's a sock on there, you can pull out the bat and then you get to hit them again. So that's the fix. So if you're working up self-defense, make sure that you include a sock on your bat.
The thing I dislike about impact weapons when it comes to home defense is it puts somebody within your safety zone, your safety circle.
Yeah.
If I'm close enough to hit you, you're close enough to hit me, right? And I want to avoid that. So we were talking about weapons platforms, and some people like the AR. I'm not a huge fan of the AR platform.
The automatic rifle. Yeah.
Yeah. You son of a bitch. I got a migraine just for a split second.
Yes.
Not a fan of the carbine platform for home defense, especially in urban environments, because the 5.223 round is traveling very fast when it comes out of that barrel, and it's going to pass through your home, probably into your neighbor's home. It's a dangerous platform to have. Then there's no need for it. If I was in a farmstead or in the middle of nowhere, just a house with some land and nobody around me, it might be practical, but I'm not even sure I'd use my AR platform for that. My AR platform is standoff. Even in an urban environment, I know my yard and the structure and the likely avenues of approach. And we talked about that last time in the podcast. I know what the likely avenues of approach are. So I have weapon systems for that. God forbid it ever got that bad. And I know the distances marked out in my neighborhood for such a platform. My neighbors don't know that, but sorry.
I just imagine you have these big targets set up all around your neighborhood, like glow in the dark. And
back in the day, they were called range cards. You would create a range card wherever you put your defensive fighting position. If you dug a hole, basically foxhole, that's what people know. We call it a DFP, defensive fighting position. You dig one of those, and you have your sector of fire, and you write out a range card with known distances, and you put pegs up, so you know your left and right fields of fire. Well, there may or may not be those built for my neighborhood. So my sectors of fire.
Yeah, I get that, but couldn't you use other I get trees grow and might be removed. You could use a road sign, things like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Probably not a car because those move pretty easily, but yeah.
Immovable, what you want is things that are normally immovable that give you a known distance or an estimated, a relatively close estimated distance to targets within that sector of fire. But a range card basically is you doing that, drawing the map of that, and then putting the known distances and what those markers are on the range card in that sector of fire. I'm not saying I have those for my neighbor.
But next time I go up to visit in Minot, I might take your dogs for a walk and start looking for specific signs. That would be fun. Yeah. Don't tell me how many. This will be a fun trick or a fun.
So, and then we got into like the pistols versus shotguns and what I liked. And if you're going to use a pistol, how you should employ it versus a shotgun. And we talked a little bit about fallback positions in your home. Where are the safe positions? And so that's kind of where we left it. I did talk a lot about drilling. Whatever your plan is for your home, you can't make the plan and then not do anything.
Right.
You've got to drill it.
Yeah.
Drill the plan for you being, and we talked about you being in your home when there's an intruder and you being outside of your home and coming home to a possible intruder. Both of those plans. And Hunter and I have a plan for being in the home when there's an intruder and us coming home when there's an intruder. And there are two different ways we will clear the house, either together or separately, depending on how it happens. But, he's leaving for Marine Corps Basic.
Yeah.
On
that was actually
June,
my question. Have you worked up your separate plan then?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have standard operating procedures in the home for 2-person and 1-person clearing. And he knows how to do it, and I know how to do it.
Yeah, gotcha. All right.
And so it'll just fall back down to the 1-person clearing of the home. Yeah. And that means that Rochelle doesn't enter the home. She actually takes the vehicle and moves down the block and calls 911, that kind of thing. If we come home and there's an intruder,
right?
If there is, if we're home and there's an intruder, then it's Rochelle's job to fall back to the safety position and call 911. While it's my job to meet the intruders and give them a very, very bad fucking day.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, good. So, and then
Yeah.
I was a little distracted as you were talking there. I'm sure you noticed, but I went over to look at our previous notes. It was episode 4 of season 2 was Home Alone 1. So that was a good recap. Looking through the notes, you covered everything that we kind of talked about there. So that was episode 4. If you want to go back and listen to that to catch up. But what we wanted to talk about today, so there are those scenarios, and they were pretty specific as we were talking about it. We really focused on an attack on your home, whether you're there or not. That's what we focused on, and we wanted to expand beyond that to this may involve an attack on your home also. But let's say something happens and you're not prepared for it. Now, the gray man is so prepared. There are times that I know you're hoping someone shows up at your house. Like you didn't do all this. You didn't get dressed up for nothing. You know, yeah, you're ready to go. You're ready for something to happen. But let's talk to the Joe citizen that maybe isn't prepared for whatever is happening, and maybe extend beyond the drills. And not saying don't do that. Get your ass up and do those things. By the way, good news. I found out that my shoulder, did I tell you this? My shoulder is not an injury.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I had an MRI this week. I found out it's not damaged, so I can get back to doing push-ups, and I'll be ready for some challenges very, very soon. I'm excited for it. Back out running, doing all the things that are going to.
And that's part of preparedness, right? It's part of being a gray man. Physical fitness is part of preparedness.
Yeah.
We referred to them as the Snack Team 6.
Yeah.
Snack Team 6 folks or Meal Team 6 folks, the ones that have a lot of tactical gear that are more likely to die of a coronary artery blockage than they are of gunfire in combat.
Need to have me a bowl of ice cream so I can get out to the gun range.
Exactly. That is all part of preparedness, though, and I like physical fitness, and we've talked about in previous episodes why I got into physical fitness, why I stay in the physical fitness room, why I even got a new sports nutrition coach certification. And that was actually, that was for me. It wasn't for anybody else. When I got diagnosed for MS, I wanted to know how nutrition played a part. And so that helped, but it's changed the way we looked at nutrition in the house, which is part of preparedness.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
All of it. It's all balance. And it really is. It's not to say now, okay, so you've said all that and you are the gray man. Now I want everyone listening to know that I visit Mike and Rochelle. I go to the Cyan household pretty regularly, and there's always some fun snack associated with things going on at their house.
Always.
There's always something around, and my struggle, if it's there, I can eat it, and it's something I recognize. So there are certain things that I just try to keep out of my household because whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it a defect or an emotional problem, whatever it is, something hardwired wrong in my brain, any of us, whatever, if there's a weakness that we have, we can manage it in one way or another. And so your way to manage it is you have a great system, you've got a great family, and you guys are accountable to each other. People might handle it a little bit different, but my point is, you preach about the good diet and you preach about your physical fitness. There are still times that you just live, and
you have to
for our mental health. We have to.
Food is pleasure, just like other things are in life. Well, our brains are designed to derive pleasure from food. And so we don't deny ourselves that. Right. We know that there's calories in versus calories out. There's a cost of doing business, and I'm okay paying for that because I like to live. Yeah. If I want a piece of cake, I'm going to have a damn piece of cake.
Yes, sir. Doesn't have to be half a cake.
Nope. Yeah,
sometimes it is.
Depends on how much we've been drinking.
Well, yeah.
But then I know I have to account for that in my life if I want to stay a prepared gray man.
Yeah.
That you're right. It 100% is a balancing act. Absolutely.
And being out of balance can affect so many parts of our lives. And so let's put this into perspective of being out of balance. Let's say something happens to someone listening to this today, and 2 days from now, before you've had a chance to put your plan into place, the person listening has someone that breaks into their house. and they're just not, they don't have the plan ready, or maybe they started a plan, but they've not done any drills, or they're just not ready. And the perspective then becomes, what do we do? And you mentioned earlier, one person is responsible for calling 911. I mean, that's the go-to, right? You know,
Yes.
we joke, I pay taxes, therefore I have people at the ready to come and save me. So that is part of it. And so from a gray man standpoint, from a preparedness standpoint, is there anything that we could talk about here from being home alone, the idea of the home preparedness, dealing with someone in that situation? What advice could we give?
There is actually quite a few tidbits to hand out there. And one of them is accept the fact or come to grips with the fact that there's going to be fear involved there. If you're not prepared, and even when you are prepared and something like this happens, there's going to be a chemical cocktail dump that hits you where the fight or flight's going to kick in, and there's going to be fear, especially if you don't have a plan in place that you've practiced that helps you mitigate that fear response and go to the fight. Right? So 1, take a deep breath. 2, grab your smartphone, because everybody's got one these days. Immediately dial 911. And 3, get to a safe area that's close to you. If you're in your bedroom and you don't have, like for us, we have a master bathroom attached to our bedroom with a garden tub that's got some, thicker sides to it. That's our fallback position. Find a place that you can go, a closet, or a place that you can shelter in place. Wedge the door, shelter in place, call 911, and don't go to the fight unless you're prepared. Let them take whatever they want out of your house, because it can all be replaced. Unless, the only caveat I have is, if there are children in your house, you have to take that into account. Have you talked to your kids about it? What's the plan? Do your kids shelter in place in their rooms too and wedge the door? Do they come running to you and expose themselves momentarily in the hallway, depending on how your house is set up? There has to still be kind of a talk about, what do I do if somebody breaks into my house, but I don't have a plan of attack?
And there are ways to go about that with kids without scaring the bejesus out of it. Don't make it in a situation. Don't make it, it doesn't have to be emotionally driven. It doesn't have to be something that scares them. Now it needs to be set. But I remember as a kid having conversations about fire. If there's a fire, this is what we do. Well, if there's someone that causes us harm or that comes into our home that isn't invited, and I would extend that, you said kids, I would extend that to the responsibility of the home owner for guests. Right. Not to say that you have to do a drill for everybody that comes over for coffee, but if you have someone staying at your house, you're still responsible to make sure that you're caring for them. And I'm saying that because I'm going up to visit Mike here in a couple of weeks. I want to make sure he knows he's responsible for my ass.
Well, and we've talked about that before, right?
We have. Yes, absolutely.
And we do that with family that comes into the house and friends that stay with us that pass through. And it's usually Rochelle that has the conversation with them.
It's less intense that way.
It is, and it's kind of done in a joking manner. But there's a plan, that we tell people. When Mike goes to bed, there's a certain pattern of behavior I have before I go to bed. Don't deviate from that pattern of behavior. If you need anything, you're staying in the rooms in the basement. And you feel like it's going to disrupt the pattern of behavior, just call. Just call one of our 2 cell phones. Don't ring. It's easier than me hearing shit getting moved around in my kitchen at 3 a.m. And me, the first night, after the second or third night you're in my house, it becomes standard. But the first night, it may not click to me right away at 3 a.m. that, oh, by the way, we have 2 of Rochelle's sisters staying in the basement. I forgot about that. I may come around the corner with my EDC and light. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think it's important to recognize here too, that it's not just Mike or someone that has your experience either. I think that's fair for everyone. You're a guest, make yourself at home has a wide range of meanings. Because in some cases, make yourself at home means you have the run of this house. Everything here is yours. Go do whatever you want. You're very welcome. And then the other end of that spectrum is make yourself at home as in, yes, you may use my couch. That's
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
so clarify. It's communication, people. I think, we have expectations, but they're not always the same. And if you don't align those, then it could lead to someone getting shot in your case. But
Well, and
that could be for anybody.
I think that's a great point, though. If you have visitors in your home and you have a plan for home defense, you have the responsibility to
Hmm.
include those guests in your plan.
Hmm.
They need to be made aware of medical emergency, fire emergency, intruder.
Hmm.
And because you don't want them to be part of the problem,
Right.
God
Right.
forbid there's an incident, right?
Hmm.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it does have to do with the situation. I mean, if it's, using the gray man scale, if the gray man scale is at a 4 in your community and in
Mhm.
your world, just the neighborhood you live in, the community you're in, the what you have prepared, maybe it's just a quick mention. But
Yeah.
if the neighborhood has had break-ins recently, if there have been gunshots in your area recently, hey, you need to know this, and this is what I've done to prepare. So
Yeah.
here's what you do. This is our
Yep.
plan for fire. This is
This is what I need you to do.
yeah,
And
exactly.
be
Stay the
very
out of the
specific.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And be
Yeah.
very specific about it, right?
Yeah, get
I'm
down.
not looking, nor do I need you or want your help. I
Hmm.
need you to stay out of the way because when you get involved, you're more of a
Hmm.
liability when there's an established plan. Especially with, like, in my house,
Hmm.
Hunter has firearms, um, access to firearms, and he's legally able to
Right.
carry concealed in the state of North Dakota, and he's
Hmm.
trained under me.
Hmm.
So we have part of a plan there
Hmm.
with him involved.
Yeah.
So
And I think in
anybody
terms
else
of
who gets involved in that is absolutely a liability.
exactly, yeah, and I think in terms, Mike and I do virtual reality. We've talked about that here before.
Yep.
We're spending a lot of time in a game called Onward right now, which is military based. It's using guns. And how many times you and I have stepped in front of each other and died because it doesn't have friendly fire, or it doesn't. I can never remember how it is, but it has the
Yeah.
thing where if I
Yep.
shoot you, you're going to feel it,
Yep.
and that could easily happen. Like
Yep.
if I'm at your house and I decide to be the hero in the middle of something happening, I will expect to get shot from behind as much as from the front because you've already got a plan in place, and you
Yep.
might just shoot me out of spite because I'm being stupid. Because in that moment, you would have
Never.
every right. Yeah. And then I would expect no less. So yeah, things like that are
But we are
important.
using that VR platform, by the
Yeah.
way. Speaking of preparedness, we are using
Mhm.
that VR platform to work
Oh,
drills for you.
I need to tell you, I was going to mention this before the show, but since we're here and our mantra has become, "This is our show, fuck you." No,
Yep.
it's not, but
Well, we
still,
say that before we start, not to
we
use
do
that
usually.
normally.
That's our toast, but we're here for each other, and this is actually something for everybody out there. It just so happens that Mike and I have the same VR headset, the Quest, and you have to sideload it, but there's a virtual reality medical simulator. There's a couple of
Really?
them, and one of them has to do with surgery. Another one has to do with other preparations. I need to get that to you. So
You
before
do, yes.
I can either cut this out later, or everybody in the world gets to hear about it, which you should, because VR is pretty cool stuff if you haven't tried it.
Well, it's an emerging technology that the military uses, that
Yeah, for sure.
several law enforcement
Hmm.
agencies use. I've used it in my job in certain areas, training scenarios,
Hmm.
and courses I've been through.
Yeah,
There's VR.
and
It is an emerging technology that it's
right.
a time saver
Hmm.
and a cost saver overall long term
Yeah. I
training.
mean, it's going towards the direction of augmented reality, in which
Yep.
you would be able to set up a plan in your house and do drills with people
Yep.
that show up. It's not quite there yet. The closest I've come to something like that is I met Darth Vader in virtual reality. That was pretty cool. Scared. I still get chills because it was that like in my face, and it was the voice and all the things. So we've talked changing back here, shifting gears because it's what we do. So somebody breaks into the house, I'm not prepared, I call 911. So what about I have a plan and I've drilled it?
Mhm.
You talked about in your case, one person is assigned to fall back and dial
Yes.
911. How does that play into a non-gray man plan, maybe, or a plan someplace between nothing and the gray man?
Still designate at least one person to, especially, if you and your significant other
Hmm.
share a room. Maybe you don't, you sleep in separate rooms, I don't know. But one of you is designated to dial 911.
Hmm.
The other is designated for security and defense. But you need to have a place in your home that is a safe zone,
Yeah.
that is the fallback position where it's secluded, it creates a fatal funnel. There's maybe a little more protection because of additional walls. It takes a little more work to get there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you haven't drilled the planter a lot or you're new to the plan, it's going to look a little helter-skelter when it happens. It's going to that way in reality anyway.
Right.
Great Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen that happen with some highly functioning teams that I have been a part of. We drill things over and over and over and over again before we get to the objective. And then we get to the objective and fucking Murphy shows up and 6 things go sideways and it never goes as planned. So you have to be a little flexible about that, but definitely have one person that is designated to contact emergency services. It's really, really important that no matter what's going on in your home, 911 gets called.
And you hear about people, you hear about people calling 911 and they shouldn't have, and all the issues that go with that. But just to again take that breath, 3 seconds in, 7 seconds out, a couple times. Where are we at? What's really going on here? Was it my dog coming through the dog door that I just heard? Is the sound repeating itself? Does it feel weird? And I know that you're not you're a guy that when it comes to investigation and research, you're not a gut guy. However, in your home, when things don't feel right, when you're in your home, things don't feel right. That's a flag. It's not, don't knee jerk, but it's a flag. It's one thing to pay attention to. What else do we need to pay attention to? Where are we at?
Well, and there's a book by Gavin de Becker called The Gift of Fear, and I highly recommend that people read this book. And he talks about the innate sense of awareness that we are designed with. You call it the hairs on the back of your neck, the red flags, or that gut feeling, or whatever it is. I cannot tell you honestly how many victims I have been in a room with as an investigator talking to them, and this phrase comes out of their mouth: I knew something was wrong. I just ignored it. So I'm telling you, just listen to that gut. Wake up, take a breath. Unless they're in your room, and then all bets are off. It's
breathe fast.
It's lights on, fights on, right? But take a breath, look, listen, feel your gut, and then initiate your plan of action.
Yep. And that's initiating a plan of action is different than knee-jerk reaction. And that reaction that we're not thinking of, again, it's going to happen, but how prepared are you to face that when it comes up? Good. I think that's good. That makes sense. I think we've covered calling 911. We've got somebody in the house, whether we're home, alone with somebody. What about a medical emergency? Because even so, let's go beyond someone breaking in. We're talking about home defense, but part of that is also safety. Someone could fall down my stairs into, maybe not the best plan, but we do have a wine rack at the bottom of our stairs. So they're not going to feel a lot of pain as they're impaled by all those shards of glass, because the wine will go directly into their bloodstream. But so just, you have to, so what are those kind of plans? Where are the areas that somebody could get hurt? We don't have railings on the stairs going to the basement. So little kids don't get to come down here. That's our plan. We've got a gate in place. So things like that, what kind of medical emergencies could we talk about from this perspective of home defense?
Oh man. Yeah. Like falls, puncture wounds, gunshot wounds, cardiac emergencies, respiratory emergencies. I mean, you're more likely to have a medical emergency in your home than you are an intruder, honestly. Cardiac emergency, respiratory emergency, a fall, break, that kind of thing, a head injury from a fall. One, just go take first aid CPR from the Red Cross. Everybody should take that course.
I have a question. There are a lot of first aid courses online, and some say you don't get the OSHA points if you take this one, but in your estimation, and if you've not done research, please say so, and we could talk about it another time, but in your estimation, just an online, if it's through the Red Cross and it says first aid, I saw there are options for peds, there are for babies, there's options for, there's a difference between first aid and something else. Can you help me remember what that is? First aid or there was another level in there. But if I'm going to go online,
well, there's
Red
first
Cross,
aid and there's trauma care. And
that's what it was, trauma.
Yep.
So
if you're going to go online and you can do a Red Cross course, I highly recommend it.
okay, all right.
What I would tell you though is then practice those skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about when I was talking about my IFAC, buy some stuff online for a first aid kit and buy extras that you can practice with.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't really practice chest compressions or rescue breathing. I mean, you could on a person, it's just going to hurt really bad.
Sure.
Because on an adult, you got to push like 1.5 to 2 inches into their chest. And you
Depends on what you're into in the bedroom, man. You might be able to get after it.
So when it comes to first aid and CPR, my go-to is take an in-person course. I really strongly, hands-on is the best way. So you can feel those chest compressions and rescue breaths and all that stuff. If you can't, for some reason, take their courses online. Their PEDS course is great. Their adult course is great. They've got a trauma course that talks about a little more blood control,
right?
Things like take that, and then practice those skill sets. Practice putting pressure dressings on, direct pressure, elevation, and then tourniquet, and all that other stuff. Practice those skill sets. The problem is most people take a course and then never do anything with it,
right?
Because I took a course, so I'm good.
Yes, I'm there. I took a course. It was a long time ago and I'm due again. And I frankly went online and got overwhelmed because there are so many choices and there was nothing locally available. So my thought was during this conversation, I would bring it to you so we can have this conversation. So Red Cross, that is the go-to, right? Like
they're really a golden standard when it comes to CPR and first aid. As a matter of fact, as an EMT and a paramedic, we have to be Red Cross certified for BLS and ALS. BLS being basic life support, ALS being advanced life support.
All right. There were a lot of letters. That's one of the things that I got to a point. I'm like, so for this much money, I could get the basics. For this much, I could get advanced. And then for this much, I could get all of these TLAs, all these 3-letter acronyms that would go along with it.
If nothing else, go with BLS, basic life-saving skills, basic life support, because that literally is what saves more lives than anything else. Is people with a basic life support certification in first aid and CPR from the Red Cross, because there's a golden window in there for starting rescue breathing and chest compressions and somebody not surviving. And I would never want to be the person on scene that didn't know that, or the person in my house where there's a medical emergency with my family or a guest in my home that I didn't know how to sling a broken arm or dislocated shoulder or, recognize choking or recognize stroke or recognize cardiac arrest and then be able to do something about it. Yeah. And you will get all that stuff with BLS. It's very important that you do that. And again, if you don't have access to an in-person course, taking it online is the second best thing, but then mimic the motions as best you can with a partner live.
Yeah. My little dogs are about to get all kind of roughed up, but we'll make it work.
It's really important to do that because when it comes to medical emergencies in their home, the thing that you're probably going to deal with the most is bleeding or choking. Then respiratory issues, and then cardiac. Unless you are around or part of a group of people that are in a high risk category.
Hold my beer.
Yep. And you know what? Over 50% of the U.S. is obese at this point. And so there's a higher probability that you are in a group that is in that risk category for cardiac arrest, for cardiac emergency. Yeah. That alone should make you want to take CPR. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just telling you that if you're in that category, fuck, man, just learn how to save your friends. Yeah. You're in that category or you're around that category. Yeah. Don't be a part of the problem, be a part of the solution. So when it comes to medical emergencies, my first suggestion is get BLS certified, first aid CPR, and then practice those skill sets every once in a while.
And that the one thing I remember, like I said, I haven't taken it. I'm getting to, I need to get back in there. I need to take it. The one thing that has always stuck with me is when you use an AED, you have to make sure to take the bra off.
Always.
So if
both the tatas.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many restaurants I can't go back into because I thought somebody was having a heart attack. Like, just get that off, get it out of there. Come on now. But apparently she just coughed, like, whatever. So
It happens. It's
yeah,
fine.
I'm better safe than sorry. I am preparing to shock you. And so look out.
In some way, shape, or form.
Somebody's getting
You
shocked.
know what I mean?
I do. So we a few episodes ago, again, we talked about the path of the gray man. Your experience is vast. You've been law enforcement. You've been active military. You've seen a lot of things. You've done a lot of things on that side of the world, and you're transitioning into a world of medical service where you're learning new skills. You're refreshing some skills. You've been on kind of two sides of this. Then, when talking about 911, you've been on the side of receiving information from a dispatcher, perhaps.
Yep.
I would expect.
Yes,
You've
many times. Yeah.
provided information to a dispatcher. You've had conversations, and kind of from a medical standpoint, let's talk about that. The 911 call, and we've all heard some good ones. We've all heard the funny ones. We've heard probably some bad ones. I've heard a few that someone just flat out panicked. So let's talk about preparing for what that might look like. I have to call 911. Go. Like, what do we do? Yeah.
First thing you do is give them your address up front, because you will call this on 911. What's your emergency? Give them your address immediately, because they're recording all the calls anyway, right?
Yep.
Give them your address up front. Tell them what your emergency is. And you don't have to go into explicit detail. I have a person here that's having a heart attack. I don't know what to do. I need
help. They'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But tell them where you are and what the emergency is. Don't try to be House from the TV show. You know, this is not Grey's Anatomy.
Don't need all the details.
I don't do that either. And I've been an EMT for 20 some years, EMT qualified for 27 years. And I'm going through paramedic and advanced emergency care training right now. I would still call 911, give them my address, and tell them, hey, I have a person who just fell down the stairs, broke their leg. I need an ambulance.
Done. Stop. Now, here's the thing. I don't have this experience. I don't work in this world. I've never called 911, but here's the experience I can bring to this. I have done phone support and provided customer service most of my adult life. I believe that I'm a pretty good communicator. And the one thing that I want to reinforce here, let the dispatcher, the person that you're calling, let them guide the conversation. You don't need to be in control.
Yep.
That's why you called them. So give them the information and wait. You have time later to freak out.
Yep.
So
the dispatcher's going to ask you some questions after. They're trained to do that. And I will tell you, the dispatchers around here are phenomenal. I interact with them a lot. They're really good. And if you call them address, emergency, they're going to have follow-up questions immediately. Okay, what's your name? Where's the individual? Can you explain to me what the injury is? They're already, you don't have to keep screaming, I need an ambulance. Give me a goddamn ambulance. Because I've heard, you know what? As you're talking to them, because you're freaking out, right? It is a high stress situation. But just know that when you give your address in the emergency, they start asking follow-up questions. They're already contacting law enforcement, fire rescue, ambulance service, whatever it is that you are, you need. They're already doing that based off of the questions that they're asking.
They don't need to put you on. Yeah, they don't need to put you on hold and place another call. It's happening at the same time. So
immediately, trust the system. Because they've got a dispatch system. They're just typing in. And if you listen really closely when you're on the phone, you'll hear them typing.
I've heard that in recordings.
They're sending out the notifications right away, because what normally happens for like fire rescue, their radio will go off and it's digital. It's not actually the dispatcher talking to them. It'll say unit so-and-so, we have a dispatch call to this address for this thing. It will tell them it's automated to whoever it is, right? Or they'll type it in. If it's a police emergency, they'll type it in. And another dispatcher will get on and say, unit blah, blah, blah. We have a priority response to this address for breaking and entering, 2 down, shots fired, whatever it is. They will tell the officer going in. If somebody breaks in, so outside of a medical emergency, if somebody breaks into your home and you have to defend yourself. I'm not going to give you legal advice.
Right. This is not advice. No.
I'm just going to tell you that just let them know that somebody's been shot.
Gotcha.
Don't.
Yeah.
I would not say I shot and killed somebody that just got in my house. I would say I need a police response. Somebody broke into my home and somebody's been shot.
That's, that makes sense. And that
it tells them a couple things. One, there's been firearms used. Two, they need an ambulance service. Three, the responding officers know there's shots have been fired. So they're going to approach the home a little differently.
Right. Yeah. And that, take that for what you will, tuck it away for future reference. That's understood.
I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just making sure everyone knows I'm not giving any sort of legal advice.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm sure we could go down that rabbit hole sometime too. We're, we still
give it a month and a half, 2 months, and I can go down that rabbit hole.
So, okay, that's a good point. So this is we've got the gray man scale we talk about at the beginning of each episode. This suddenly becomes a localized 10. So something is happening in your house. And I would compare this. So what we're talking about here, I've had times when I've spilt a soda pop, a pop, depending on where you're from, on my carpet, and that elevates the situation. I have to clean that up. I know where the rags are to clean it up? What do I need to do to follow up? How do I respond to others in the house, to my dogs? Like all of that's happening. And that sometimes that's a disruption, right? That's like, God dang it. Now life sucks for a couple of minutes. So now, has everybody experienced something like that? Have you had something go awry in your house? Now let's multiply that to someone's finger got sawed off, or kids are wrestling around and somebody's arm is broke, or somebody fell and injured themselves. When I grew up, there were issues. You step on a rusty nail. What do you do in a case like that? You bang your head and there's a lot of blood coming out of it. How do you handle that situation? The preparedness that we're talking about and the idea of calling 911, it's already escalated. And how are you handling the situation? What information are you prepared to provide? Will you say your address right out of the gate? It used to be, there was a period of time when back in my day, you called 911 and you had to tell them the address so that they could come to your house. Then for a long time, when you called 911, they knew exactly where you were at. Now with smartphones, we think that we're always being tracked. I don't rely on that. I believe that it's happening, but I can't rely on that when it comes to an emergency. I will definitely tell them where I'm at. If I'm home, here's my address. If I'm out someplace, I should damn well know where I'm at. And that's a whole nother preparedness thing. I know we're talking about home defense here, but if you're on the highway, do you know how to describe to someone where you're at? If not, you should at least have a general idea. Yeah.
One of the things that I have the habit of doing, and that I've tried to instill into my children and my spouse, is be aware of a mile marker as you're traveling.
Yeah.
And a town sign or an exit sign as you're traveling. You don't have to memorize all of them, but I know within a couple miles of what mile marker I am at any point, because I watch them, or the town signs or exit signs, that kind of stuff. And so if you're not in your home, the first thing you should say is give your location.
Yeah.
And the reason why we started telling people to give their address up front is because a lot of the population of the U.S. no longer has a phone hardwired into their house.
Right. Yeah, you have to tell them where you're at.
Yep. So give that information up front. So then that dovetails into what do I do when the first responders arrive on scene?
Right. Yeah.
And
so now we're there. Yeah.
Couple different courses of action, right? An intruder comes into my house and I've defended myself. The first thing I do is I damn sure just put my firearm down. And I'm not anywhere near it. And just know when law enforcement comes up to your house, they don't know who the bad guy is.
Right. Yes.
They don't know that you're the homeowner. So act accordingly. If they tell you to get on the fucking ground, then you get on the ground.
Yes. Now, that's not a pissed off law enforcement man saying that. That to me, now we talk about common sense, and common sense is only common to people with common experiences. I grew up in an environment in which you listen to authority, and I understand that there's a lot of pushback against that right now, but we're telling you this for your own safety.
Yes.
It will wash out. You're going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. It's another scary situation. And
how dare you in my home? That's kind of the thing we get these days. But I don't know who the homeowner is.
Right.
when I'm showing up there.
Yeah.
There's not something that pops up in my vehicle that gives me the picture of the fucking homeowner.
Right.
When I show up on scene and I've heard that somebody has been shot, I assume that there are weapons still available. So I have to go into that home. Everything is a threat.
Yeah.
So if you're the homeowner in boxers, I'm still telling you to get down on the ground and just do it.
Yeah. Just let us figure this out. Give me a second.
And then once everything's calmed down, we're going to take care of you. We are.
Yeah.
But
and put some damn pants on.
You don't run out into the yard. I mean, and I've seen it before too. And people will do it. Run out the yard screaming.
Yeah, with a weapon.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a good way to get shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to the direction of the responding officers. Okay. So that's the home invasion one. For the medical emergency one, know how to direct responders to the place where the person is injured.
All right. So within the structure, yeah.
And then get the fuck out of the way. You're neither a doctor nor an EMT, paramedic, or nurse, unless you are. And then you know what my advice is for you?
Get the fuck out of the way.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
It's not your job. Let them
still a liability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, there's emotions involved. And at the worst, you're doing more. And that's my habit. My go-to would be, and I've been in this situation. So let's make this real. My mom was not very responsive for a time. She was living by herself. I went to her place and found that she just wasn't with it. There was something really off. So I called, and my first thought was, shit, how do I get them in here? I had to figure some things out, and I'm talking to them as they're coming in. And then I wanted to be the guy to give all the information, all of her medical history. And I knew that I was being stupid. I knew that they didn't need to hear it, but I didn't know what to do with myself. So part of this conversation today is to give some framework. It's okay. You can, and you're the person that you love, the person you care for, the person you're responsible for, or the person you just happen to come across. You've got that sense, but it's okay to step back. They can ask you questions. They will come back around. The moment will pass. So it's okay to relax and step back and just watch things happen. You'll get through it.
Within a medical emergency, it is perfectly acceptable to meet them outside of the structure, the home, the apartment complex, whatever it is, unless the emergency is so dire that you're the only one there that you need to stay with the individual.
Yeah.
That's different. Yeah. But if the person is being cared for, it's okay to have somebody outside the structure to lead emergency services to the place where the individual is. And then again, get out of the way.
Yeah.
There's a format we use in emergency services when we arrive on scene to figure out what's going on. Asking the individual if they're conscious, right? Asking the individual their name, why they called, what the emergency is. And there's a lot of information as I'm talking to you, I get from you, your respiratory rate, your alert, your skin, are you in shock, that kind of things. And then there's a secondary assessment we go into that will determine, what was the onset, what's the provocation, a scale of 1 to 10, how bad it is.
I hate that question.
And because it's relative, right?
Right.
And what medications you were on and when it was your last oral intake, all of that stuff matters. But if you're unconscious, guess who we're going to start asking?
Yeah.
Whoever called. If that person's unconscious, there's going to be individuals working on that person. And then there's going to be other first responders that are talking to you, asking those questions. When did this happen? Is there anything that made it worse? Are they on any medications? Do they have a history of this? What is their medical history? When's the last time that they ate or drank anything? That's a really important one when I start performing rescue breathing or intubating or anything else. It's a very important question.
And it's one thing to know the information, but you don't have to vomit it all out when they get there. They're not ready for it. Just be ready. Maybe that's the answer. Like call 911, listen and be ready. That's your responsibility at that point. You don't have to fix all the things.
Do mental reps for this. What we have found in my old life, was that mental reps are just as important as physical reps with firearms and personal safety. I run through mental reps of firearms all the time. I run through mental reps of clearing my house or medical emergencies, or if I'm out someplace, what would I do if I turned the corner, a person was by my vehicle that I didn't know and was hostile, or I was in a structure and there was something I do mental reps. We go out to dinner. I do mental reps as we're ordering appetizers or whatever. I'm doing mental reps. Where's the nearest exit? What would happen if somebody came to the door?
Yep.
I don't do them all night. I'm not that paranoid.
Right.
But I do them for probably the first 5 minutes that I'm sitting someplace, because we have found that mental reps are just as important as physical reps. So if all of this stuff is new to you, you need to do mental reps.
All right, that's just part of training. That's part of preparedness. I do have probably the most recurring mental rep that I do involves Sandra Bullock, but I don't know if that's what we're talking about today. But it definitely, just in case. I mean, I
don't know. Mine might be Tia Leone.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think that works.
It's okay. Rochelle knows. We have celebrity crushes. She knows.
Oh, good Lord. It's the movie Gravity. Oh, Sandra Bullock's floating around in space in her underpanties. Good Lord.
I've never seen that. And I've heard from several people that I need to.
I saw it in the theater with the kind of chairs where they move a little bit. So I felt like I was kind of floating through space with Sandra Bullock in her underpanties.
That's a good place to be.
I mentioned that she's wearing her underpanties, and
I approve of this message.
You should, yes. Yes, you should. We need to get sponsored by Paramount or whoever put that movie out, because we're like all the guys. Check it out. Go to Mr. You know what? You could probably just go to Mr. Skin. I'm sure you could see it there. You know that website? You're familiar with that website.
I plead the fifth.
Fair enough. This is how we get sponsors. We just start throwing names out.
I'll speak to my attorney.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, speaking of throwing things out, let's talk about some shitty choices.
Oh, yes.
You had an assignment from last week. I see you have the chalice. We're good to go for this week. And just to be clear, the big shit still remains. Your socks are always damp when you put them on. And that'll be part of our choice this time. But last time you chose the thing where if you had to give fact rebuttals, they must be presented in rhyming form. And I'm curious how the last week has gone for you if you just gave up all your fights right away.
Believe it or not, I didn't really get into a debate last week at all.
Yeah.
That might have been by choice.
Yeah.
But Hunter, my son, is in debate in high school.
All right.
He's in the debate class, and he's been asked to be on a debate team. And so while he was talking about his debates, all I could think about was, fuck, if that was me, all of my debate rebuttals would have to be in rhyme form. Wiki, wiki, wiki. Yeah, I mean, I was like, thank God I was not in a debate class. That's all I could think of.
What level of debater is he?
He's a master debater.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yes, because we're dads. We're actually grandpas. And for those that aren't yet, you actually get a card when you become a grandpa that you have to do, like the dad jokes have to step up a level.
Oh, so easily a couple levels.
Yeah, yes. To talk the reps. I mean, we have to work on these. We do memes all the time. We're working on our puns, all the jokes. Yeah, we got to keep up. So here's how it works. Shitty choices. Each week, our host has 3 things to choose from. One is the big shit, where his socks are always damp when he puts them on, unless he chooses that at some point. The other 2 are random choices that he rolls for on a 20-sided die, and I happen to have a list here that you will choose from. So I would like you to roll that die and get you a number 13 like you've been getting for every fucking week for the last 6 weeks.
Number 12. It was
12.
Close.
Oh, funny. So close. So it's double shit.
Oh, God. I
have been waiting for this one. Your wiener is either half the length or half the girth. Choose your poison.
Well, really, you're not going to make much of a difference anyway. Oh, God, half the length or half the girth. Yeah. I'm going to go with half the length.
You're losing half the length.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a little tuna
I'll keep my girth. Yeah, I'll keep my little tuna can.
That's called the chode. Lose half the girth. All right. I'm going to put that in parentheses. Chode.
You son of a bitch.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that one was nice and simple. I mean, I know that was a tough one, but it was pretty easy choice for you.
Well, it wasn't hard if that's what you're asking.
And we won't know. We'll never know. All right. Second one. Roll again.
Number 2.
Number 2. Oh, God. this is again, this is why it's random. Your pecker grows in proportion to your irritation in conversations with others and resets to normal size when you either walk away or the other person tells you you're right. Now, longtime listeners and our host may recognize that used to be, I think it was tongue. What I used to say. Yep. I just changed it to pecker because I was sick of you talking about your tongue. So now your pecker grows in proportion to your irritation. So it kind of offsets the other one, but you can't choose them both. You have to, one way or the other. We're talking about your wiener today or your socks.
All right. So, well, I mean, this is actually a pretty easy choice for me.
You're going to be pissed.
I mean, my wife's going to be yelling at me a lot, but
hit me,
punch me in the face, goddammit.
Tell me the earth is flat.
So I'm going to go with the link to my number 2. Yeah, that's an easy choice. I'm a dude. Of course I'm choosing that one.
Yes. But I mean, just think about, okay, so it's fine. You've made your choice.
Yes.
So now let's talk about the ramifications of that, because it's not only in the bedroom that you're going to get irritated. I mean, you're going to be walking around with this hog that you're going to have to strap down.
It's going to be awkward for everybody but me.
Well, yeah, but it's going to chafe.
You know what? Damn it! I didn't think about the chafing.
Yeah. Right. Well, eventually it'll just what's that called when you get on your fingertips when you're playing the guitars? You get the calluses.
Oh, calluses. Yeah.
Eventually, your wiener just callus over, and sorry about your luck, but yeah, no, it's.
Yep. I'm taking number 2, man.
Stretch marks.
God!
It's gonna be ribbed for.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's gonna be just shriveled little tiny.
I appreciate the fact that we can talk about my penis this much on the interwebs.
When I put the list together, and I modify it pretty regularly, every week I get to sit down and think about your body. so you're welcome.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Stop touching your nipples for our listeners. Mike was just giving himself a nipple rim job. Is that a thing? A ripple nim job? I don't know. Something just happened with your nipples.
A nim job?
Nim job. Ooh, I have one of these. There you go. Got yourself a
rim
shot.
A nim job.
Yes, a nipple shot. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's a shitty choice. Although it's a pretty good choice. You're welcome. I gave you.
Yeah, I appreciate that one. That was an easy one for me this week. They've been rather difficult. I was going to say hard.
Yeah. Well,
they've been rather difficult. The last couple ones, honestly, have made me really think. So
some are harder than others. So, all right. Well, give us. This is it. Home Alone Part 2. We've talked about mostly 911 and dealing with first responders and things. Some final words on this, if you would, sir.
Be prepared. Have a plan of action and practice it. Don't expect your body to or your mind to just know what to do. That's not the way life works. And I hear this from people. I'll just, my instincts will kick in. Well, your instincts are to freeze and stutter and freak out and run or blabber nonsensically. That's literally your instincts when they kick in.
Right.
Fight or flight is something when it takes over your body, it literally takes over your body. And most people are on the flight end of the flight or fight. And during the flight response, your body locks up and your mind freezes and all that stuff. And we get over that by having a plan, creating a plan, and then drilling that plan consistently until it becomes second nature. So all this other stuff, like calling 911 and giving the right information, all of that stuff you can drill. Don't call 911, but drill calling 911,
right.
verbalizing the information and having a plan. And then it's just, God forbid it ever happens, it's second nature to you and it's a smoother transition. And it could be the difference between saving somebody's life or not. Right. It really could.
Yeah. And even if it's just 10% better than had you not done anything, you've maybe saved a life. It's that simple.
I 100% agree. 10% increase in your ability to be cool or under pressure is the difference between somebody's life or not.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode number 15 in the books, and we will do this again soon. I believe we're most assuredly due for some world events, some things that are happening.
There's a lot going on. So
this show recorded on May 16th, so by the time you hear this, some things may have already happened that we'll be talking about soon. But we'll be back with you. We appreciate everybody that supported the show from the beginning. Thank you so much for all that you've done, for all that you continue to do. Please help get the word out. Share it with your friends, your enemies, whatever folks might be out there. And we appreciate the reviews for those that have done it. It's been helpful. So keep the conversation going. Stay safe and get some rest.
Cheers.
Find us on Facebook, YouTube, and your podcast app at The Gray Man Podcast. All rights reserved 2020. Skunk and Gator Creations.